not sure where to start with designing your first email newsletter inside of Mailchimp, you don't want to start with a blank page. That's the first thing. So this video is definitely for you. I'm going to walk you through how to create that first email newsletter template, as well as kind of guide you through like what to put where, why you're doing it. I'm also sharing email design best practices so that if you do set it up and you want to change it later, you understand the reasons why you're changing it. So grab your coffee and let's go. So we are going to start with gathering the things that you need for this before we get you into Mailchimp. So this is a very simplistic version of a brand style guide. I think every brand should have one. You don't need the really fancy, 15-page ones that explain a lot of things. Sometimes all you need is something like this. So the things that you absolutely need to have on your brand style guide is what the logo looks like. And if you have two versions of your logo, meaning one that's long like this and one that's square, you would put that on there as well. We take it a step further too at times, and we show the black and the white version, especially if it's different, and we know that the client is going to be getting shirts made or hats or logos put on a vehicle so that they know what it's supposed to look like. Then are the colors. This is probably the most important part. A swatch at the top of each color, and then the CMYK color number, which is used for print, RGB, which is used for digital. Hex is also used for digital. We show both because some systems, like Mailchimp, it's easier to put the hex number in than it is to put the RGB, and some systems only want one or the other. And then the Pantone number is for that conversion if you're having embroidery done and they need to pick a thread color. All of the thread colors will translate back to the Pantone color, but not necessarily to one of the others. And then the last thing is your fonts. You may have two, sometimes three fonts. Make sure the names are here, and then ideally you'd want to link to them so that it's easy for someone to find. So if you hire a graphic designer different from who did your branding, you have all that information at your fingertips. And then make sure you actually have the JPEG or the PNG of your logo. Okay, so now let's go into Mailchimp. So the first thing that I want you to do, and if you did our beginner video, this should already be done, is go into My Logo and make sure your logo is here. If you're going to be using any layouts or templates that Mailchimp provides, this is where they're going to pull your logo from and pull it in for you. The other thing that I like to do is in the My File section where there's all this stuff is I add any additional versions of my logo that I want to use. So this is that original file that's in my logo. But then I like using my icon. So I have my icon with a white background and I have my icon on no background. That's what that gray represents. And that's the difference from what you're seeing here. So it looks like it's a cutout. And that is, and you'll see where that's utilized in different places. Okay, so now that you have all your color information and fonts and that sort of thing, now we can actually start creating your template. So let's go up to Email Templates, and then click on Create a Template. Now, when you come in here, they give you different layouts available, featured. Basic is included in the free plan, but then, or at least some of them are included in the free plan. And then you have some that are part of the paid plan, right? They're not giving you everything. So these are helpful. If you're new to this, I actually recommend you start with one of their themes. So again, they have featured, but then they have them put together by usage. And you can kind of see what they look like with a logo. You can see what they look like with stuff inside of them. I think this gives you better context of what and how they're supposed to look like. They have events. If you're doing something for the holidays or something already pre-built. And then you got cool, fun stuff like this. So the nice thing about these is that a lot of the feature sets that you might be looking for are kind of already there, which means you don't have to start from a blank canvas. So again, some of these only come with the paid account. I would say take a look at them. Anywhere on these, you can click on that magnifying icon and they'll show you what it looks like as if you were editing it. So keep your website in mind when you're picking this theme. What you want is something that is going to be similar to what your website looks like so that you have brand continuity across everything. A lot of times they will probably be signing up from your website, and that way if they sign up from the website and then they're getting emails from you, it all feels the same. And then especially if they're on the email and they click through to something to the website, it feels like it's all part of the same brand, part of the same family. So that's pretty important. So in my scenario here, just for a little bit of fun, I'm going to pretend that the site that I'm doing this for is actually a dark theme website. And so I like spruce for that. I actually usually our team will start with spruce if we have a client who does have a dark themed website. And it's actually called Sophisticated, but the brand name that's on here is Spruce. And so when I click on that, it automatically pulls it in where I can edit it and make changes to it. And everything is set, so I don't have to figure out how to make the background black or change any of this. However, you are going to want to change things to your color palette and to your logo. The thing I want you to do when you get here is to set this up for your style. So you're going to click on Style, and you see all these different headings over here on the right. First, you start with Page. So the background is black. If you chose this, you're going to keep that. I wouldn't worry too much about the borders. Again, all that is set for you. Really what you want to focus on here is fonts and colors. So for heading 1, it's using an Arial font and that color is an off-white. You want to find a font that closely matches your font. You can't upload your font. There's only a certain amount of fonts that Mailchimp allow when you're sending an email, because the font that's used has to be on the person's system, right? Whether it's a mobile device, a computer, in order for it to render. And so the ones that Mailchimp has picked are very, very common. Pretty much all of us have these or something similar to them, so that it shows up as close as possible to the way that you want it to look. So Arial is a font that we all have. A lot of these start that way, but let's say you wanted to use something that had a serif on it, which is the feet that sit on the top and the bottom of letters. And so when I change that to Georgia, you can see where it changes it in the header over here. And then I like all my headings to match. So I'm just going to go down and change these all to Georgia. And you'll see them all changing as we go. And I'm going to leave the colors the way that they are. I'm going to assume that these are very similar to my color palette. But if I wanted to change the color, let's say it's not this gold, but I want it to be, you know, a bright green. I will come in here and change it to green, which still works. And that number I actually pulled from my style guide. So having that handy makes it super simple to do all of this. Okay, so that is headings. We're going to save that. Header, again, background color for you is set here, borders, all that good stuff. If you want to change the link colors, you can so that they match your palette. I would do that. Body, same thing, background, body text. If you have a secondary font, so if you have a primary font and then you have a secondary font, usually one is a serif and the other is a sans serif. And so in this case, if I want a sans serif, meaning there's no feet on the font, I'll either leave it there or I'll use Helvetica. I'll see what I like. So, and again, you save those. And I wouldn't mess with columns. Footer, same thing. Again, just double check all of the colors. Mobile style. I don't think you need to touch any of these, again, because you're starting with a template. If you were starting from scratch, you would have to touch all of this stuff. And then referral badge, mine is off because I have a paid account. Okay, so that's everything there. So now we can start talking about blocks, right? So what this is each one of these is a block. And you can then take and you can drag and drop a block in here where you need to. For this particular format, and one of the reasons why I chose this background is that I like a large first block and then smaller side-by-side secondary blocks. This kind of creates a V, and it makes it easier for our eyes to follow when we are taking a look at it. Meaning, once you review the first one, your eye automatically tracks down to this section here, and it points down to it. And then if you had a call to action button here, it would kind of funnel towards that. So this type of a design is very popular and it's appealing. And the other nice thing, which when I get to that, I'll show it to you. In mobile, it just stacks singularly. Everything just stacks. So that's what these are blocks. So on the right here, you have different types of blocks. You have a text block, which is what this is here. And then you have a boxed text. And what this does, I'm going to just pull one right in here, is it actually puts a border, a background on the text. And so it could simulate a button when you don't need a button. We'll talk about this more when we get to best practices on layouts. Divider lines, that's what this is here. Right? So it just gives you little sections. Images, of course, this is an image. And then image groups. An image group is really cool because it will actually take and put these side by side and then let you edit them separately. And then image cards are very similar, where you can put one in and then it has a color block directly beneath it. And then image text is it's got a place for an image and then text beneath it. So sharing allows you to put in icons where they could share this in other places. That typically will go into a footer, and you'll notice here that the icons aren't really showing up well. And what I need to do is just change the style and the settings of them so that they actually work here. So add that little feature. And then social follow is if you want them to go and take a look at your social media channels. So you're going to put one or the other in there and make sure it's there. And buttons, that's what these are. And the buttons have hyperlinks. And then you can actually change the name of what's on the button. And then you can either assign it to a web address, or you can have an email, you can have it go to a link, or you can put a file in. So with a file, I like to put download resource, and then when they open it, it automatically downloads it. And then footer is this section down here where it puts in all of the Mailchimp things. This is using a lot of merge tags to make sure that the current year, your company name is in here. This is all preset for you, so you don't have to worry about it. The only thing I would do here is if you have a paid account and you do not want the Mailchimp rewards picture coming up, you just take this and delete it. And then code is if you are savvy enough and want to actually HTML code your own, you can. And then a video, you can actually pop a video link in here. What's nice about this one, and I'm just going to kind of pop it in here so I can show it to you, is that here now what you can do is you can insert a YouTube link or a Vimeo link, and we'll actually pull through and display it with a play icon. It won't play in the email. It's going to send you out to a browser, but it's going to take you right to it. The reason you can't upload a video like you can a GIF file or a photo is that videos are very large and they have to be on a server platform that you can stream from. And Mailchimp is just not going to do that. So they're utilizing existing sources out there like YouTube, which we upload our videos to all day long. You have the ability to add a caption underneath if you want, and depending on how you have your style set up, you can change the color of the caption background. So card background is this. Let's say I want it to just look super cool and be all black. I can do that. Okay, so that is your different ways that you can pull things in and set them up and really make this template your own. So how you want to set this up is you want to figure out what you're going to be sending pretty much whenever you send out your newsletter. What do you want them to do? Are you going to be doing an article? Which you could put the image here, a little bit of a write-up here, and then actually add a read more button. That links directly to your website. And then you can style this a little bit. So that could be your article. If you have a video, like if you're doing a lot of video content and you're trying to share that out, this image block could be replaced with a video block. So you want to figure out what this is going to be. And then in the two sections down here, what do you want to share there? You can share different things here. You can share services, your top services here, where you show a picture that represents the service and then a button underneath that takes to the website page so that they can read more about the service. If you are a product-based company, you can put the name of the product, a bit of a description, and an order button or a buy button. So there's a lot of different creative ways that you can figure this out. And then what's nice about this is that you can make this content static, and then this is what gets changed every time you come in to make your newsletter, which then makes it super quick because you grab your template, you pull it in, and then you just make the changes to it. If you're finding this video helpful, give it a like and sign up for our newsletter so you never miss a video. That link is in the description. And so now I'm going to show you a template that I pre-created correctly without talking, because it's very hard to talk and design at the same time, and walk you through email best practices so you can see what it looks like. And then this is also one that's done on a white background, which is probably going to be pretty common. So I'm already in templates and I'm just coming in and I'm editing one of my existing templates. Format is the same. So this is the template that I use for my email newsletter, where I share all of these videos that I'm putting up on YouTube. So the purpose of my newsletter here is to share video. So as you can see, I have my logo up here. I have a place for my video with a little bit of text that explains what it is. So, and then for my second section down here, I also do a podcast. And so I have decided that the podcast episodes I'm going to put in here are also the ones that would be useful and helpful for when you're watching the video. So the content is similar. And then I always mention tools a lot, like this is about Mailchimp. I talk about Canva in that first video. So I also want to put links to the tools that are used to create this so that people can sign up for those tools and get them if they don't already have them. And then you'll see that my footer is down here, and I just picked a color that is similar and next to my brand that also matches the Income a Podcast brand. So that's my first best practice for you, is you need to stay on brand. You took a lot of time setting up your brand. Your website is branded. Everything is branded. Email is not the place to start playing with things. So colors and fonts should match. So like my header font here is part of my color palette. Like I said down here is I did pick a color that was next to it, but it is very, very close. And then you always want to have your logo at the top and somewhere in your footer. I went really small down here. I just wanted a touch of it. I made it that small on purpose, and I'll show you when I look at this in preview. So people tend to place more value on larger objects. And so the largest object in this email is the video, and that is actually by design. It's following what I was telling you about before, that V-shaped design. Big thing at the top, smaller things at the bottom. And these all have more equal weight. So after they've done watching the video, and if they want to watch the podcast, listen to the podcast, that's great. Or if they need tools, they're there, right? Nothing is overshadowing anything else. Now, what you're going to see here is personalization inside of a call to action. A lot of call to actions are buttons. This one is not, because I'm trying to keep a very clean, minimalistic look, but if you notice, it's pretty large. It's taking up almost the whole width of the two images. And so what this indicator here is the piece of personalization. And what that is a merge tag. So if I come in here, you'll see the merge tag, and those are placed by using this tool right here called the merge tag tool. A lot of them will have a list of these, and the names are not in here, but there's a cheat sheet that gives you what all of the merge tags are. Now, that cheat sheet's helpful, but if you want to know exactly what your merge tags are, I'm going to come over here and show you how to find them. So in your audience, you're going to come to settings, and if you watch the beginner tutorial, you'll have already set these up and know where they are, but you're going to come down to audience field and merge tags. This is showing you all the fields that you have set up for your audience, right? So I have email address, which you always have, first name, last name, and then you have merge tags. First name, last name is always defaulted, but if you added additional merge tags and added names, you will use those names, and you just have to use it in the same context as you see here. So asterisk, line, name, asterisk, line. Now what this is this is a default. So let's say if someone doesn't have a first name, you can put something in here like friend. If you don't put anything in here, it's going to leave it blank. I, for first name, usually leave it blank, and I'll show you why in a moment. So let's go back to our template and let's show you what this looks like. You have to be in a campaign, not in your email template editing, in order for this to work. For whatever reason, the feature doesn't work here in template land. You actually have to be in campaign. So I came through and created a quick campaign for you based off of my template. Make sure you have an audience set up. A lot of times when you come in here, the default audience isn't there. This isn't going to work until you have an audience. It needs recipients. Okay, so my tag is there, and now you're going to come into preview and then enter preview mode. I'm going to scroll down here, And you'll notice that it changed it to this, which is totally fine. Now you want to enable live merge tag info. This allows you to see what it's going to look like. So my first record is in there, and it has my first and last name in the name field. So this is why you want to kind of test things a little bit and make sure it's set up properly. But I can scroll through different records. So the next record on my list didn't have anyone in the first name field, right? Sometimes you don't get that. It totally got rid of it so that it doesn't break anything. And then for the records that are correct, it'll put the name in there. And I love that personalization because when we see our name, we actually stop and take a look at it. And you could make that a different color if you want to, if you really want to make it stand out. But again, it's the person's name. They're going to see it. And then they're going to be like, what? They're going to take a moment and look at it. So that's actually a best practice that I like. Instead of putting it at the top and saying, hey, so-and-so, I like strategically placing it inside of the content, especially within the call to actions, because that's what you really want them to do is stop and look at those. And if they see their name, they're going to stop and look at those. Okay, so let's go back into the edited template version. Now, the next thing is that elements placed higher on the page are perceived as more important. And so as part of your template design, what is it that you want them to do when they open this email? It's that first call to action. So in my case, it is, I want them to watch the video. So technically, if you read this that way, it's like the very first thing is I want them to know who I am. I want them to watch my video. Here's so they know what the video is about. And then the next thing after that is the podcast. And then if they need the tools, they can get the tools. So that's how the hierarchy works. If you are doing articles, you're going to put an image that represents the article, a little bit of a blurb so that they understand what the article is about with that read more button. And that read more button could have their name read more. So it could be Audrey, read more. Audrey, read the full article. And then if you want to get a little bit more creative in that space, is it could be Audrey, read your article, right? You're giving ownership to them. And naturally, when we see stuff like that, we just take ownership. Yours, now it's mine. Those are just helpful things to get them to click through. So contrast is also important. I like this minimalist look. That's the style that I'm going for the brand because there is a lot of content. I'm focusing on video and I am focusing on imagery with the Marketing Mastermind brand so that you guys get exactly what you need, which is really what's in the video. So you'll see a lot of white space here. And these two kind of go together. One, our eye needs a place to rest as we're looking down. When we add a lot of clutter, it makes it very hard for us to get to the next thing. And so that's what all this negative white space is for. And it's really important. If I show you this in preview mode, you'll get a sense of that. So this is what it's going to look like in an email on a desktop, which is great. Lots of white space. But in mobile, it's even more important to have that space because it's smaller and it looks really clean. Everything is stacked very nice. Here's why I made it so that you really need to click on the image to listen to it. And then you can set up links for images because there's a decision to make. Which one do I want to listen to, right? So I don't want buttons to clutter up my page. I'm using the images for that. And then these stack very nicely as well. You don't want things to look cluttered or confused because people are going to then think your brand is cluttered or confusing or hard to work with. And that contrast just makes things pop. So the last thing that I want to show you, because I mentioned it, is that anytime you add an image, you can actually add a link. And all of this is an image group. Single images are the same way. Everyone has a place to put a link. So when you have your image here, you click the link, and it allows you to actually put it in. And then just like as I showed before, you can add an email address. You can add an anchor link, or you can actually add a file. So if that image is a download icon, you can use that too. So there's a bunch of different creative ways you can do buttons here. You can do them as images, you can use the buttons within, and then your advanced options is you can add some title and search information, but I would always have it open in a new window. If they've got this up, you don't want to make it go away because they very well could come back and click on something else. So now that you've gone through this walkthrough, go into your Mailchimp account and have fun creating your email newsletter template.